Two things can be true at once. Um, on the one hand, we can have good things happening, and on the other hand, even those good things may not be as good as they at first seem. So we know that Donald keeps losing in court. Not all the time. We heard recently that a federal court has ruled, a three-judge panel has ruled that Donald was within his rights to federalize the California National Guard. Seems to me an extraordinarily wrong-headed decision, but a win for him nonetheless, a loss for us. More often than not, however, he has been losing in court, which is a win for us. And we need to celebrate those wins. But we also need to recognize that wins in court don't necessarily mean justice. Wins in court do not erase the damage that has been done and continues to be done. A couple of examples. Mahmoud Khalil was illegally detained and incarcerated 3 months ago. 3 months ago. He will never get that time back. His family will never get that time back with him. For over 3 years, E. Jean Carroll has been trying to get justice for the crimes Donald Trump committed against her. She has won 3 times. 2 juries found that he was liable for raping her and for defaming her, and they ordered him to pay her a total of something like $83 million, which with carried interest over time will end up being well over $100 million. She has won in court 3 times. Just last week, an appeals court rejected his appeal, and he's appealing again to a higher court. So, after winning 3 times, E. Jean Carroll has yet to see a penny of the money Donald Trump owes her. Is that justice? And it just reminds us, and I think it's important to be reminded, that our system of justice is deeply flawed. And sometimes it does seem that it is geared to protect the perpetrator over the victim. And if it seems that way, it may well be because it was designed that way, but that's a subject for another time. That doesn't mean, however, that I'm saying we should not celebrate the wins. We need to get energy from every single victory. For us, every single loss for the Trump regime. But it's important to put it in context. This system of justice, especially with a DOJ in the pocket of Donald Trump, serving as his personal defense team, is not enough. It is not going to see us through. Our elected officials do not seem up to the task either. So, once again, it's down to us. And based on what we've seen over the last weeks, months, we are totally up to it. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to be here with you. Huge news. This is legitimately good news for Mahmoud Khalil, the man detained by ICE for the past 3 months as punishment for exercising his First Amendment right to protest Israel's actions in Gaza, as punishment for his being pro-Palestinian and for being involved in student protests. A federal judge, Michael E. Farbiarz of Federal District Court in Newark, that's New Jersey, ordered the Trump regime to release Mahmoud Khalil on bail, ending a 3-month detention in a Louisiana ICE facility. This judge ordered that Khalil has to be released and finally be able to go back to New York to be with his family. This will return him to his wife and infant son, whom he has yet to meet since his birth in April, because at the time of the birth, Khalil was being illegally detained. This is a massive rebuke to the Trump regime, and the judge has made it clear that he sees through them, saying, quote, there is at least something to the underlying claim that there is an effort to use the immigration charge here to punish Mr. Khalil. And of course, that would be unconstitutional, unquote. Mr. Khalil is slowly working his way towards getting some semblance of justice. And to have a judge finally recognize his mistreatment at the hands of the Trump regime and to order his release home is an incredible win. Legal correspondents, however, are seeing what could be in store for Khalil's continued battle against the Trump regime.
The Trump administration argued that the judge in this case in New Jersey, a federal judge, did not have the jurisdiction to make this decision, that instead it should be made by an immigration judge. The judge said, no, that's not true. I do have this jurisdiction, and there's no reason why an immigration judge needs to weigh in at all. But what that could mean is that the Trump administration will now move for an immigration judge, which is done through a completely different system, to then order that he be detained again. But for now, this federal judge says that he should be released from that detention center in Louisiana.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay up.
They're never going to stop. Donald has been doing this for decades. He gets sued, he countersues. He loses in court, he appeals. He appeals. He appeals. Until it never seems to end. So I worry for the future of Mahmoud Khalil and other people in his position. Because remember, this costs money. The people, the civil servants whose jobs Donald Trump destroyed, some of them he's going after. They need to hire lawyers. People are out of jobs. All of this costs money. Now, hopefully there will be organizations lining up to defend Mahmoud Khalil through this very long process, pro bono, because there is no knowing how far they will take it. What we do know is they will take it as far as they can, and it could be years before there is any resolution for Khalil or for the other people who have been so badly treated by an administration that knows nothing and cares nothing about their constitutional rights. Before we go on with today's news, if you could please take a minute and follow us on YouTube, Substack, or wherever you listen to the podcast, because your support is what keeps this operation running. So thank you. So while the Trump regime tries to continue its attacks on immigrants and does keep attacking immigrants, our journalists are more important than ever, which is why they are constantly in the crosshairs of Donald and his regime. Their attacks on free speech continue, this time with another massive round of layoffs. They sent layoff notices on Friday to over 600 employees at Voice of America, which is a federally funded news source providing independent reporting to countries with limited press freedom. Patsy, I cannot say this name properly, so please be patient. Wadakusawara, I tried, a former Voice of America White House bureau chief who also received a layoff notice on Friday, said, quote, this spells the death of 83 years of independent journalism that upholds U.S. ideals of democracy and freedom around the world, unquote. Voice of America was founded to combat Nazi propaganda and reported in countries that suppress independent reporting and free speech. For Donald to gut these crucial news sources is extraordinarily dangerous to our democracy and to free speech, but that's exactly what he wants. Do you think Donald Trump wants independent media? Fox isn't even being sycophantic enough for him these days. And if he thinks that Fox isn't doing a good enough job perpetrating and perpetuating his propaganda, well, then do we really think he wants something like Voice of America to continue to exist? He's already going after PBS and NPR. So he has been trying and wanting to suppress journalism for years, and now that is the project of the federal government. And it's in large part probably because they're so incompetent that they don't want people reporting on it. In an attempt to refute claims of his alleged heavy drug use, Elon Musk posted the results of 2 drug tests on Twitter this week and accidentally exposed the last 4 digits of his social security number in the process. Musk was trying to refute a New York Times expose detailing his use of ketamine, ecstasy, and other substances, including reports of bladder issues linked to his drug intake. He'd go to reporters who have ever reported on his drug use to take a test themselves. But the real kicker was in the comments. Under his drug test tweet, journalist Jason Smith asked Grok, the Musk-funded AI chatbot that is always disagreeing with him, to fact check something for him. He asked, quote, at Grok, how long does it take for the above illegal drugs to leave one's system during a cleanse and for a person to be found negative in a medical verification? And at Grok, did Elon have enough time to do such a cleanse between the New York Times article about his drug use? Grok responded, as it is wont to do, writing, quote, detection times for illegal drugs vary. Ketamine, 1 to 4 days, up to 10 for chronic use. MDMA, 1 to 3 days, up to 5 for heavy use. Psilocybin, 1 to 6 days. The 12-day gap between the New York Times article, May 30th, 2025, and Elon Musk drug test, June 11th, 2025, suggests he had enough time for these substances to clear his system, unquote. By the way, if you are the subject of an article, such as the one about Musk and his drug use in the New York Times, you need to be given an opportunity to respond before the article is published. So Musk knew about this long before the article saw the light of day, which means he had even more time than 25 days. And it also makes me wonder if maybe his sort of sudden exit from the White House had more to do with his needing to go into detox than anything else. But I'm just speculating. What do I know? But it's very clear that Musk took his time. He could have come out the next day and said, I am so offended by these defamatory claims that I am going to get a test right now. But he didn't. He didn't. Now, of course, I'm not going to judge somebody on whether or not they use drugs. I don't really care. I actually think I hate drugs. I don't use them, but I think all drugs should be legal. Not sure what he's so ashamed of. And anyway, I'm speculating here, but I think sometimes we just have to connect the dots, don't we? So while current and former and potentially future members of the Trump regime continue to spiral and spin, they're gutting a critical social service that has bipartisan support. And this is just an example of what Adam Sewer said a very long time ago now. The cruelty is the point. Donald shut down federal funding for the national LGBTQ plus suicide hotline. And this, as statistics show that young people in the LGBTQ plus community are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. I actually wonder if it's not higher now, considering we're into our 5th year of anti-LGBTQ plus policies being enacted by Donald and his executive branch, which are making the lives of people in the LGBTQ plus community even harder than they already were. MSNBC's Chris Jansen spoke with James Black, CEO of the Trevor Project, to talk about the devastating implications of this move. Watch this.
This is what the Trump administration says, look, they can still call the generalized hotline. What do you say?
I say no. So, for example, when a veteran calls their specialized hotline, they need to speak to someone who understands military stress. They need to PTSD, family separation, combat stress. When an LGBTQ plus youth calls the line, they need someone who understands LGBTQ plus youth stress and trauma, such as family rejection, homelessness. That is exactly why we had these specified lines with tailored interventions created, because tailored interventions actually increase their survival rate. And this is not about a special line or special treatment. This is about effective treatment.
And when you talk about the specialized needs that they have, the treatment that you get when you're an LGBTQ teen, what do you think the message is when you take the T out of something that is generally known, accepted, understood? And what are you hearing? What kinds of feedback are you getting on all of this?
Right. Well, let's just be clear. Removing a letter does not remove a community. Okay. And what it does tell our youth is that their lives do not matter. Their identities do not matter. We cannot politicize their identities. In fact, we need to actively depoliticize the identities of LGBTQ plus youth. And what we're hearing, the feeling that we're hearing the most is fear. Fear and outrage. Parents are outraged, supportive adults are outraged, but our youth, they are terrified.
Will people die, do you think?
Absolutely.
People are already dying. All because Donald and his fascist enablers want to erase and oppress anybody who fights back against them or whom they don't understand. Activists say that this is why this year's Pride Month celebrations need to be louder and prouder than ever. Stacey Lentz is co-owner of the iconic Stonewall Inn and told the Gothamist, quote, Pride should be remembered this year in particular as a protest like it was in 1969. It's not just about celebration and finding queer joy, but it really is about showing up, being visible, and just existing sometimes in defiance as queer people. Our existence is being politicized right now, so let's make sure that we are out there being visible, unquote. We are seeing some state level wins here in New York. City lawmakers approved legislation restoring certain protections that had been rolled back at the national level by the White House, including access to gender affirming care. And elected officials are pushing back against City Hall during ongoing budget talks to secure increased funding for LGBTQ plus New Yorkers. Quickly, yes, it's still Pride Month. There's still about 10 days to go. And I think that it's extremely important to remember, just as with Juneteenth is not a holiday for Black Americans. Juneteenth is a holiday for all Americans. Pride Month is for all of us because do we not want people in the LGBTQ plus community to have the same rights we have? Do we all not know people or be related to people or love people who are in the LGBTQ plus community? Pride Month is for all of us, and that includes allies to the LGBTQ plus community. So if Pride needs to be louder and prouder, Pride also needs more allies showing up, because these are very dark and difficult times for your LGBTQ plus friends, family, neighbors, colleagues. Very dark times. All because we have in power a party that does not recognize the humanity of people who are different from them. So, get yourselves to a pride parade, please. We would really appreciate it. It means more now than it ever did. So, before you go out and celebrate, it is time. It's been a weird, long, difficult week. I was having a little trouble like wrapping my head around it. Like it seems like there's been no through line. So I think it's a good thing that it's Friday, because there's just way too much disparate news going on. You know, we try really hard here to make things make sense, to connect dots. But the news this week was just sort of all over the place. And that can make it really hard to figure out, like, what is the overarching, what are the overarching issues that we need most to pay attention to? So it's been, and again, this week started on Saturday, because even though I think it feels like it was several millennia ago, last Saturday was no kings protests, the obscene military parade, and the horrific political assassination in Minnesota. So that was Saturday. That's when our week started. So we need an emotional support moment. I think maybe more than we have in a long time. So it's time for that. Early in the week, actually, I think it might have been yesterday, we got to swim with whales on the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. We took a ride with the Hubble telescope. We're a very adventurous crew, aren't we? Yeah, it's kind of cool. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the James Webb Space Telescope, which is one of the coolest things ever. It's the largest telescope ever sent into space, and it's built to study the universe using infrared light. It's much more powerful than Hubble, so it can see things that are too old, far away, or faint for Hubble to detect. With it, scientists can study the first stars and galaxies, and even get a close look at the atmospheres of exoplanets that might support life. So, as always, take a breath, inhale, exhale, because breathing only helps if you do it both ways, right? So don't forget to exhale, and please enjoy this amazing photo gallery from the James Webb Telescope. That is just glorious, isn't it? One of the things I find most extraordinary when I look up into the night sky, not that we can see much here because there's so much ambient light in Manhattan, but we're looking at videos like that, is that so many of those stars we see don't exist anymore. It's light that's reaching us long after the stars imploded. And I find that kind of humbling and very cool. All right, let us get to your questions and comments and see what's going on. Kathleen, new member, thanks so very much and welcome. It's wonderful to have you here. Cindy, thank you very much as always. Super sticker. Kelowna, thank you very, very much for that. Comment, not much, but sent with deep appreciation. Aloha. Thank you for a great news channel. Well, thank you. And it is much, and we really appreciate it. So thank you. Twinkle Toes. Canadian flag. Not sure if you're Canadian, but elbows up. Oh, cool. because you answered my question for me. I was like, I don't recognize that currency. Here we go. Can living in the Dominican Republic at pesos fee? Oh, Canadian living in the Dominican Republic pesos fee. Very cool. You are a Canadian. Thank you so much. Purple J, thank you so much. Comment. Congratulations. You are now spectacularly good at promotion fee. Wow. Okay. Words I never thought I would hear. I'm going to get I'm going to get a big head. No, it's not genetic. Thankfully. Thank you for that, though. That makes me happy because that took some doing. Let's see. In the middle of nowhere, thank you so much as always. Comment, hummingbirds at my feeder fee. I love hummingbirds. Maybe they could be the subject of an ASM. Yeah, absolutely. Or bring back the flamingos. Loved your talk with Eugene. Flamingos are too dangerous at this point. I don't know that I would be able to stop laughing. I almost killed myself trying to stop laughing because of the misplaced flamingos. And yeah, now we're all laughing uncontrollably. And I'm so glad you like the conversation with Eugene. I love her, and we had such a great time catching up. And yeah, I hope everybody checks that out because it was really fun, and she's awesome. My dear Cheryl, thank you as always. TGIF fund because that shouldn't incur a fee. Yeah, good point. Should not. Long-haired hippie dragon, new member, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to have you here. Jeff, a super sticker. Thanks, Jeff. That is excellent. Thank you very much. Want to beam up. Yeah, I hear you. Thank you for that. Oh, wow. Okay. Comment, Mary Trump for president 2028. You know, by the way, speaking of Eugene, I can't remember when it was. I think it was back in 2022. She wanted me to run as a Republican in the Republican primary, which quite honestly would have been very fun, but probably not the best use of my time. Thank you, One to Beam Up. Susan, a new member, welcome. It's wonderful to have you. Carol, a super sticker. Thank you so much for that. Lady Misfit, thank you very much for that as well. Comment, Mary. Hi, Mary. Love you. New fun acro nymph or Donald. 2 weeks again, Trump. Moving on before I get in trouble. Although you Brits say that a lot more than we do. I mean, if you're British, I'm sorry. I don't know. I thought that might have been a pound, a euro sign. Anyway, people in the UK say that much more than we do. But that made me laugh. Thank you. Pink Nightmare, awesome. Gifted 5 Marriage of Media memberships. That's wonderful. Thank you. And very generous. Rock and Steady, thank you so much as always. That's great. Comment. My 15-year-old daughter is gay. As her father, I love her and think the world of her. I'm also scared for her. The country has devolved. Intolerance seems to have a firm foothold. We are so lucky to have you here, Mary. Thanks. Well, I feel extraordinarily lucky to be here. Feel very privileged to be part of this community and to have this platform. And yeah, I agree with you. I'm very afraid for our LGBTQ plus youth. I'm afraid for all of our LGBTQ plus communities, especially young people, especially trans people. And I don't get it. I mean, I do in terms of its political expedience and in terms of the fact that the right realizes that they only win if they engage in these horrific culture wars. But I do not understand why it is so easy for people to turn on each other, why it is so easy for people to hate those who are the most vulnerable among us. And by the way, are people we all know and love. I just don't understand why we have not evolved beyond this cruelty and ignorance and I hope we figure a way through it, because we should not have to be afraid for our children simply because of who they are. It's just wrong. Sheila 3444. Sorry, that was too many fours. 3444. That's better. Member for a month. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Sheila 3444. Super sticker. Thank you for that as well. Awesome. Sue K, Substack and YouTube subscriber fee. Wow. Well, then you shouldn't. I'm not going to tell you not to give a fee, but I think you're doing the heavy lifting. So thank you. And your comment. Thank you, Mary, for your intelligence, your dry wit, your kindness, and your utter hatred of him. Well, the last one comes easily, but thank you. That's very kind of you. Jana, my cats love the space ESMs. Yeah, right? Because cats are smart. Of course they do. Go Mets. Deborah, comment. Oh God, Vance is in my city today blabbering about nothing. Well, I mean, that's better than the alternative, which is if he's saying something hideous and vile and, enacting something. Not that he can, but I'm very sorry he's defiling your home, because he's just despicable. Torin, thank you very, very much. Question, Mary. Do you believe that one of the reasons Donald is targeting immigrants is to economically cripple sanctuary cities, especially California? Yeah. I mean, it's multi-purpose. Mostly it's just because he's a vile human being. He thinks it plays well with the base, and he likes beating up on people who are more vulnerable than he is. He's a cruel, despicable, depraved person. But yeah, it gives him a reason to go after sanctuary cities which are almost exclusively, I could be wrong. I don't want to say that definitively, but clearly the bulk of sanctuary cities are in blue states. And it is a way to insert himself and ICE and his despicable fascist regime into places that reject him utterly. So, yeah. Kelly, Canadian, awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. Talua, new member, welcome. Awesome to have you. Marion from Substack asks, don't know if you, oh wait, this is a comment. Don't know if you know this, but Canada has extended their LGBTQ hotline. They developed a 100 number for Americans to call. On the one hand, that makes me love Canada and Canadians even more. And I'm so deeply grateful for that. And we will do everything we can to amplify that message, because everybody needs to know that that's the case. On the other hand, I find it makes me extraordinarily sad that it's necessary. But since it is, yeah, very grateful to you guys. Thank you. Pink Nightmare, thank you so much as always. Comment, I adore you, Mary Fee. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Gerald, thanks so much, Gerald. Comment, girl, you're doing good, and you are without a doubt a real strong woman. Keep it up. Well, thank you, Gerald. That's kind of you to say that. You guys make it easier. That's for sure. All right. That does it for us. Thank you all so much for being here. I know it was a really long week. But I mean, I guess we just need to get used to it. And we're not going anywhere. So we've got you covered. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube. Thanks to everybody streaming on Substack and Twitter. To everybody listening to the podcast. So appreciate all of you. To all of our new members, thank you so much. To all of our super stickers who keep showing up, to everybody giving us gifts. It makes all the difference in the world. And we appreciate it more than we can say. To our fantastic moderators who just keep doing it day in, day out, despite how hard it can be sometimes. I want to let you know a couple things. First of all, just as always, the easiest way to support us is just subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's free, gives you access to all of the live shows, all of the videos that drop every single day, which is another great way to support us. Don't just watch them, but like them, share them, comment on them. Really, really helps us. And please do check out the paid subscriptions on YouTube. It just gives you access to certain extras depending on which level you subscribe into. I also want to let you know, speaking of our YouTube paid memberships, we have a Q&A, our very first Q&A this Sunday. If you're a member at that level, you will know. But if you're not sure, check. And if you want to be part of that Q&A, just up your membership. Look at me promoting. And I will be back Sunday for Ask Mary Anything Within Reason. Also, one of my favorite shows drops tomorrow. That's Trump Trolls Trump every Saturday. So check that out. I think that drops at 2:00 Eastern. And that does it for us. Please have a great weekend. And we will be back catching up on everything Sunday at 6 p.m. Answering your questions, rather, I should say. Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And in the meantime, please, everybody, stay safe and be kind.